My name is Ezra Calder. I'm 29, the youngest son of a family that owns half the farmland tech patents east of the Mississippi. My father, Joseph Calder, built an empire. My mother, Eleanor, perfected its image. My older sister, Leora, was born to inherit it. Me? I was born asking too many questions, making too much noise, never quite fitting into their polished portraits. While Leora dazzled at charity galas, I buried myself in soil samples and algorithms, quietly chasing things that couldn't be bought, like truth. Maybe that's why, even before the reading of the will, I felt it in my gut, something was coming. Something that would split the Calder name in two. And when they handed her $10 million and told me I wasn't blood, I knew this wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. The conference room was cold. Not just from the AC. A polished mahogany table. Leather chairs too stiff to sit in. My parents across from me, Joseph with that practiced Wall Street calm, Eleanor with a smile so tight it could crack glass. Leora sat beside them, in white silk, like she was about to walk a damn runway. Harold Levinson, the family attorney, cleared his throat. Per the last will and testament of Calvin J. Calder, the following disbursements will be executed. Pause. My fingers tapped twice against the armrest. No one looked my way. To Leora Calder, $10 million, to be transferred today, along with controlling interest in Calder Legacy Trust. Claps. Just hers. A single clap. Her lipstick didn't even smudge when she smirked. Harold turned a page. As for Ezra, here it comes. It is stated that Ezra Calder is not to receive any inheritance, as he is not biologically related to the Calder family. Silence. I blinked. Once. Twice. Not a muscle moved on Joseph's face. Eleanor crossed her legs, slowly. My mouth dried instantly. What did you just say? Harold lifted a manila folder. This is a certified DNA report. It confirms Mr. Calder is not your biological father. My voice barely came out. When was this? Taken? A routine test. 4 months ago. By court-permitted private lab, Langford and Associates. Leora's heel clicked as she shifted. It's not personal, Ezra. It's just truth. Truth? Truth needs proof. Truth bleeds when you stab it. I stood. My chair scraped sharply against the tile. So that's it? Joseph looked at me for the first time. You'll always have the Calder name. That's more than most get. He might as well have spit. Outside, the Charleston humidity felt like a second betrayal. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Message. Check your blood again. They lied the first time. I stared at the screen. Looked up. No one. But it felt like someone was watching. Always watching. I tried to call back. Line dead. Number gone. A second buzz. Message. If they take it all from you, dig beneath the orchard. I drove straight to my apartment. Locked the door. Closed all blinds. Heart pounding. Ears ringing. I couldn't tell if it was anger or something darker. I opened my laptop. Logged into my private vault. Pulled up the last message Grandpa ever sent, 3 weeks before he died. Audio file. Only 6 seconds long. If they take everything, Ezra, protect what's truly yours. Suddenly, another message appeared. Anonymous, again. A.pdf file. Title, Inheritance_abridged_C, Calder. I clicked. Scanned. Froze. Line 47. Should Ezra Calder be declared non-blood, full disclosure of biological origins is required by law under Clause 9b of the Family Trust Act, per revised codicil filed on. Wait. What codicil? I scrolled down. There was none. The document was missing pages. Deleted? Or hidden? I called Harold. Voicemail. I called the Langford lab. Line disconnected. I called Leora. She declined. Twice. I looked at the email again. There was a string of numbers in the footer. Not formatting. Not random. GPS coordinates. I copied them. Pasted into maps. The Calder Orchard. My phone rang. No caller ID. A voice I didn't recognize. Male. Calm. Controlled. You're not supposed to have that document. I didn't speak. He continued. Walk away, Ezra. Or you'll find out blood doesn't matter when you're dead. Call ended. Screen black. Heartbeat in my ears. I stared at the orchard coordinates again. I should have been scared. But instead, I whispered, almost amused. If I wasn't blood, why did Grandpa send me that last message? Protect what's truly yours. The coordinates led to the orchard. I didn't even pack a bag. Just keys. Phone. Flashlight. .38 revolver I hadn't touched since the break-in last fall. Dirt crunched beneath my boots. Branches scraped the truck as I veered off the road. The trees were still. Too still. No wind. No crickets. Only the sound of my breath, too loud in my ears. I parked by the old tool shed. Nobody had touched it in years. But the padlock was new. I crouched. Ran a fingertip over the metal. It was warm. Someone had been here. Not long ago. I didn't think. Just kicked. The lock snapped on the third try. Inside, dust hung like fog. Old barrels. Moldy tarp. And in the far corner, beneath a pile of cracked crates, was a steel box the size of a lunch cooler. I yanked it out. Combination dial. Left. Right. Left. Click. The hinges groaned like something waking up after decades. Inside. A USB. Labeled in black ink, EC private, do not copy. And a folded sheet of legal paper. No seal. No letterhead. Just typed in plain, emotionless courier font. Revised codicil, Calvin J. Calder, filed under Independent Witness Protocol. Witnessed by Harold Levinson. Notarized. Recorded. Confirmed. I froze. He did leave me something. My fingers trembled as I pulled the USB from the box. Then I heard it. One footstep behind me. I spun. Nothing. Just the orchard. The trees. Still no wind. But I wasn't alone. 10 minutes later, I was back in my truck, engine humming like a lifeline. The USB burned hot in my hand. I shoved it into my glove box and didn't breathe until I was off Calder property. Back home. Locks bolted. Shades drawn. I plugged in the USB. One file. A folder, legal plus video. Click. My heartbeat synced to the loading bar. The document was a scanned will. Real. Stamped. Timestamped. The name Ezra Calder showed up 7 times. Rightful heir. Direct line. Sole beneficiary pending confirmation of bloodline integrity. Wait. What? I zoomed in. The clause, pending confirmation of bloodline integrity, was highlighted. There was a second folder inside, Calder DNA Originals. Encrypted. Of course. I opened the video instead. Grandpa. Gray sweater. Oxygen tubes. Sitting in his study. I don't trust the lawyers, he said. I don't trust Joseph. If you're seeing this, Ezra, it means they erased you. But I didn't. You're mine. Don't let them take it. Static. My jaw clenched. I didn't even realize I'd stopped breathing until the screen cut black. Then, pop up on my screen. Remote file attempted to copy. Shit. Someone was in the system. I killed the Wi-Fi. Yanked the USB out. Screen blacked out. Phone buzzed. Private number. I answered. Ezra Calder? The voice was male. Southern. Unfamiliar. This is Langford Labs. I blinked. You're the DNA testing lab? Long pause. I'm not calling officially, he said. But I saw your name flagged. Twice. That's not normal. What do you mean flagged? He lowered his voice. Someone with clearance ordered your original results deleted. It wasn't an error. It was a command line. Level 5 internal. Only 2 people have that access. Names, I said. He exhaled. Harold Levinson and Joseph Calder. My vision blurred. My hands didn't shake, they buzzed. They didn't just cut me out. They rewrote the damn bloodline. Truth is never quiet. It doesn't whisper, it screams when you silence it. I swallowed. Can you restore the files? Pause. Maybe. But not from here. You'll have to come in person. Where? Langford South, Savannah office. Off Ridgeway Industrial. When? He hesitated. Now. Before they pull the plug on the backups. I didn't pack this time either. Just grabbed the flash drive, gun, coat. Rain hit as I drove. Fast. Hard. My wipers barely kept up. Each red light felt like a test. Each shadow? A watcher. The Savannah office sat alone at the edge of an industrial lot. Fluorescent light flickering over the front door. Inside, it was colder than outside. Reception desk, empty. Monitor on. Screensaver pulsing. I stepped further in. Hello? Nothing. Then a buzz. The screen behind the desk lit up. Security feed. 12 cameras. All showing my truck pulling in. Over. And over. And over. Looped footage. I turned to leave. The door was locked. I ran to the back. A crash. Shadows outside the frosted glass. Footsteps. Fast. Heavy. I reached for the gun. Fingers brushed cold steel. Then the lights cut out. Pitch black. A whisper in the dark. You weren't supposed to find the real Will. Ezra. They don't just want me erased, they want me dead. The lights came back on. Slow. Flickering. One bulb at a time, like a heartbeat crawling out of shock. No one was there. No footsteps. No voice. No whisper. Just that line echoing in my skull, you weren't supposed to find the real Will. I didn't wait. I grabbed the flash drive, turned the deadbolt from the inside, shoulder slammed the door open. Rain sliced through me as I ran to the truck. Door unlocked, stupid. Still there. Still breathing. Keys. Ignition. Gas pedal. Tires screamed. Back on the road. I didn't know where I was going, only that I had to keep moving. Windows up. Locks checked. Every taillight behind me looked like a threat. I made it to the city. Parked in the underground garage of a cheap hotel 2 blocks off River Street. No cameras. Cash only. Clerk didn't even look up when I signed a fake name. Room 312. Shower still dripping from whoever was here before me. The mirror fogged without heat. I covered the peephole with tissue, shoved a chair under the knob. Then I opened the flash drive again. Video. Legal file. New folder I hadn't seen before. DNA, confidential. Encrypted again. But I'd cracked worse. 10 minutes. Then 20. Passwords, birth dates, Calder house numbers, project names. Then one worked. Leora DNA _ v2.pdf. I opened it. Table of genetic markers. Sequence analysis. Underlined in red, donor sample, subject LC does not share primary paternal lineage with subject JC. My breath caught. Wait. I read it again. Leora is not Joseph Calder's biological daughter. The storm outside cracked louder. I stared at the ceiling. Like I'd see answers there. Leora was the one they claimed was real. Untouchable. Pure blood. Golden girl. But she wasn't his. And neither was I. So who the hell are we? I needed someone who knew more than I did. So I drove. Not to anyone from my family. To someone Grandpa trusted more than his own lawyer. Daniel Reeve. He was Calvin Calder's private legal advisor before Joseph muscled him out. Disbarred under shady charges. Rumors said he still operated out of a diner in the North End, filing unofficial advice for people the system had forgotten. I found him behind a half-empty cup of coffee and 3 unpaid parking tickets. He didn't flinch when I sat down. "You look like someone just told you your whole life was a press release," he said. "It was," I said. I pulled out the drive. Pushed it across the table. He didn't touch it. "Before I open that," he said, "you need to know one thing. If what's on there is real, people are going to want it buried. And if they can't bury the files, they'll bury you." I nodded. "It's already started." He plugged it in anyway. Reeves' fingers flew across the keyboard faster than I expected for someone over 60. He paused only once, when the DNA file opened. "Son of a bitch," he muttered. He tapped the screen. "This donor sample, D. Merritt Voss, you see this name?" I nodded. "He's the mystery variable?" "No," Reeves said. "He's not the variable. He's the architect. Merritt Voss was a biotech contractor Joseph used 15 years ago. He disappeared after Calder Holdings was investigated for gene modification trials overseas." My skin went cold. "You think Leora was created?" "I think," Reeves said, "you're not the only Calder who shouldn't exist on paper." I staggered back into the truck, Reeves' words ricocheting in my head. "Someone engineered her. Leora was never meant to inherit, she was made to inherit. Custom DNA. No ties to the original Calder bloodline. No threat to the financial fraud Joseph was hiding in the trust. And me? I was the real son. The liability. The mistake they couldn't erase, so they rewrote the story. I drove back to the orchard. One more time. This time, I went under the house. The crawl space still stank of oil and dust and animal shit. But there was a trapdoor. Nailed shut. I pried it open. Inside were boxes. Labeled in my grandfather's handwriting. One folder read, Inheritance, Original Documents, Ezra. Another, DNA Trial Results, LC. And at the bottom, a single envelope. On it, open only if you believe none of this makes sense. I opened it. A photo. My mother. Eleanor. Pregnant. Next to her, a man who was not Joseph Calder. Wearing a Langford Labs badge. And smiling. I turned it over. Scrawled in Grandpa's handwriting. This is where it all began. And where it must end. If Leora was planted, then who the hell am I really? The smell hit me first. Formaldehyde. Old paper. Damp insulation. I was still crouched in the crawl space, the photo trembling between my fingers. My mother, pregnant, glowing. A stranger beside her, wearing a Langford badge, hand resting over her stomach. Not Joseph. Not a Calder. Not even close. My voice came out hoarse. So you weren't lying, Grandpa. But this wasn't protection. It was a blueprint for war. I snapped photos of the documents. Tucked the originals under my coat. My fingers trembled on the crawlspace ladder as I climbed out. Outside, the sky was bruised purple. The orchard still windless. Still wrong. I walked the rows like a soldier expecting landmines. Each tree looked the same. But I wasn't here for trees. I was here for the vault. Grandpa's bunker was buried beneath the east side of the orchard. No one in the family talked about it, but I knew it existed. He used to call it the Bone House, his nickname for secrets nobody wanted exhumed. The entrance was hidden under a slab of faux irrigation piping. I knelt. Pried the latch open. Steel staircase. No light. I descended blind. Each step groaned. Dust rose like ghosts. At the bottom, the air thickened. Heavy. Metallic. I flicked on my flashlight. Steel walls. Floor-to-ceiling filing cabinets. A single desk. A chair overturned like someone left in a hurry. And in the back, an evidence locker. Glass. Inside, a Langford Labs hard drive. Sealed. Labeled. And next to it, a birth certificate. Name, Ezra Merritt Voss. My knees buckled. My last name was never Calder. My father, biological father, was the biotech architect who built the DNA identity program Joseph used to create Leora. That was the twist. I wasn't a mistake. I was the original experiment. I barely made it out of the bunker. Rain had started again, sideways, cold, like it was trying to slap the truth back into me. I got in the truck. Hands numb. Drove with the heat blasting, eyes locked ahead. Phone buzzed. Unknown number. Message. You were never adopted. You were designed. I drove to Daniel Reeves' apartment. Not the diner, too exposed. He opened the door with a gun in his hand. Dropped it when he saw my face. What the hell happened? I shoved the folder into his chest. I was never a Calder. I'm Voss's son. He looked like I'd slapped him. Jesus Christ. Yeah. That's what it feels like. He sifted through the documents. His voice turned flat. This is bigger than probate fraud. This is genetic identity laundering. I blinked. That's a real thing? He nodded. It's used in espionage, corporate fraud, illegal surrogacy setups. It's federal. And if Joseph buried your identity to protect his biotech deals, this is going to blow wide open. Then why not kill me? Reeve met my eyes. They might still. I slept maybe 2 hours on his couch. Woke up sweating, choking on a dream where I was drowning in a glass tank, my DNA strands floating like snakes around me. Sunrise bled through the blinds. Reeve was already dressed. You need a second copy. Something the Calder team can't erase or override. I followed him to a locked cabinet. He pulled out a thin envelope. This is an affidavit. Filed 10 years ago. Your grandfather made me draft it. He knew they'd try to erase you. What does it say? He handed it to me. I, Calvin J. Calder, do affirm that Ezra Merritt Voss was born of my daughter Eleanor and Merritt Voss, under undisclosed surrogacy terms orchestrated by Joseph Calder. Ezra was raised under the Calder name to shield corporate misconduct. I froze. My mother knew? Reeve didn't answer. He didn't need to. That afternoon, I got a call. Leora. I know what you found. Her voice was like ice cracking. You were never meant to survive this, Ezra. Walk away. I laughed. Dry. Shaky. Funny. That's exactly what Grandpa said you'd say. She exhaled. You think this is about the will? It's not. It's about control. Legacy. And you're a variable, Ezra. You always were. Silence. Then she added, coldly. You know what they do to variables in a clean dataset, right? I stared at the call log. Deleted it. Opened the folder again. Flipped the birth certificate. On the back, Grandpa had written, You were the first proof. And the last hope. I didn't sleep. Not really. The clock on the nightstand blinked 3:06 a.m. 3 hours since the call. 3 hours since Leora threatened me with silence or extinction. 3 hours too many. I sat still in the dark. The affidavit from Reeve pressed to my chest like armor. You are not the heir. You are the problem. That's what they wanted me to believe. But the files in the orchard told a different story. I was the original Calder bloodline, the son of a secret union. But secrets don't lie in quiet graves. They scream until someone listens. I needed evidence that couldn't be erased. Couldn't be deleted. Couldn't be burned like paper in a backyard fire. And I knew exactly where to look. Langford Labs South. The Savannah office. I pulled into the deserted parking lot at sunrise. Gray clouds hovered low like vultures, ready to dive. The building was old. Brick. No guards. Cameras on the perimeter only, easy blind spots. I slipped inside through the back door, unlocked. Someone didn't want me coming here. Inside, reception desk. Empty. I checked the time. 6:12 a.m. too early for anyone except the cleaning crew. Too late for staff. My boots echoed. Thrumming. Hollow. I clicked on my flashlight. Beam cut through dust in the air like a knife. Through a hallway. A door cracked. Inside, a room full of servers humming like sleeping beasts. I dropped to my knees. Plugged in the encrypted drive Reeve gave me. I watched the screen load. Then the countdown began. Access granted. Deleting backup in 5 minutes. 5 minutes. 5 minutes to save the only copy of Burt Langford's original DNA report. The one that proved I wasn't a fake. The one that proved Leora was. My heart thundered. They weren't erasing a file. They were erasing me. Then a sound. Metal on tile. I froze. Steps. Slow. I looked up. Shadow at the door. I ducked behind a server rack just as gunfire rang out. Bang. Glass shattered. Bullets ripped through the room. I crawled forward, keeping low, clutching the flash drive. In seconds, the countdown hit 2 minutes. I reached the server I'd started downloading to, a hack I rigged earlier with Reeve. Files transferring. Bloodline _DNA. Birth _record _archive. Calder _original _will. My breathing was loud. Too loud. The intruder stepped into the aisle. Tall. Skinny silhouette. A voice, cold and calm. Ezra Calder. I didn't answer. I locked eyes with the barrel of a gun. The man lowered the weapon, just a fraction. Then I saw his face. Not a Calder. Not any family photo I'd seen. It was worse. It was my father's assistant, Nolan Price. He smiled. Thin. Dead-eyed. You should have walked away, he said. Before you knew too much. I slid a hand into my pocket. A paperclip. I flicked it open, my heart in my throat. Distraction. Nolan's eyes shifted. His finger tightened on the trigger. Then the server monitor blinked. Transfer complete. I snatched the flash drive. Ran. Bullets splintered the tile behind me. I dove through the broken reception window, glass biting my arms as I tumbled onto the lot below. Cars parked. Dawn breaking. I didn't stop running. I made it to my truck. Blood and rain mixing on my skin. I started the engine. Tires squealed as I sped away. Sirens started, far but rising. I didn't need to look. I knew I was being tracked. Nolan's voice still echoed. You should have walked away. No. I wasn't walking anywhere. 2 blocks away, I pulled over. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I didn't answer. Text popped up. You made it out. Good. But did you think we wouldn't have contingencies? Attached, a photo. Me. On camera. Walking out of Langford South. Timestamp, 40 seconds before the sirens. I realized the server attack wasn't to kill me. It was to make me think it was. To make me run. To leave the actual backup where they wanted it. I opened the map file attached to the text. Location, Calder Holdings headquarters. Half an hour away. Another message followed immediately. We're waiting, Ezra. My jaw locked. My pulse spiked. I remembered something Grandpa once said. Legacy isn't given. It's taken by the ones bold enough to demand it. I turned the truck around. I was heading straight into the lion's den. And I wasn't alone. They don't just want me erased, they want me dead. The lobby lights of Calder Holdings burned white and merciless. Glass. Steel. Marble floors that reflected every bad decision ever made in this building. I walked in bleeding. Not enough to kill me. Enough to leave a trail. Security tried to stop me. Bad timing. Stand down, a voice said from behind the desk. Nolan Price. Calm. Smiling. Like a man who thought the ending was already written. This building is private property, he added. You don't belong here. I leaned in close so only he could hear me. Neither did Leora. I flashed the badge Daniel Reeve had pulled favors to get, temporary council access, emergency injunction pending review. Legal enough to buy minutes. In this building, minutes were oxygen. The elevator doors closed. Up. 37 floors. My phone buzzed again. No number. Upload in progress, 68%. Gianna's work. God bless her chaos. A thought cut through the noise, steady as a metronome, power hates daylight. That's why it builds towers. The ballroom was packed. Board members. Shareholders. Press. Cameras hungry for blood. Joseph Calder stood at the podium, immaculate as ever, explaining temporary disruptions and family misunderstandings. Eleanor sat beside him, hands folded, eyes forward. Leora was not there. I stepped through the side door. Murmurs rippled. Cameras swung. Joseph's voice faltered for half a second. That was all I needed. Good morning, I said into the room mic, breath ragged, voice steady. I'm Ezra. Silence snapped tight. Before you vote, I continued, you should see what you're voting for. The screens flickered. Black. Then files bloomed open like wounds. DNA chains. Timestamped lab records. Video testimony. Grandpa's affidavit. The revised codicil. The birth certificate with the name I never knew I had. Gasps. Shouts. A chair scraped. Joseph turned. White as chalk. This is fabricated. Truth doesn't need makeup, I said. It just needs time. A line I'd heard once, reshaped to fit my mouth. The screens cut again. New footage. Nolan Price. On camera. Ordering deletions. Threats. Payments routed through shell accounts. Dates. Amounts. Names. The room roared. Security moved. So did the FBI. Blue jackets appeared at the edges like punctuation. Joseph stepped back from the podium. Ezra. No, I said. You don't get to use my name now. I felt eyes on me. Everywhere. Like the building itself had leaned in. Legacy, I said, softer. You taught me it was control. Grandpa taught me it was responsibility. Another thought surfaced, quiet and sharp, blood can lie. Choice can't. The rooftop was chaos. Rain. Wind. Sirens. Helicopter lights slicing the dark. Joseph ran. Of course he did. I chased him across slick concrete, shoes skidding, breath tearing at my lungs. He slipped near the edge. I grabbed his arm. For a second, we hung there, father and son, suspended by gravity and history. You were supposed to disappear, he hissed. You were uncontrollable. I looked down at the city. Lights like neurons firing. You confused control with love, I said. That's how empires rot. He laughed. A broken sound. You think this ends me? No, I said. I think this ends us. The agents arrived. Hands pulled him back. Cuffs clicked. Final. Joseph Calder was led away, shouting promises that sounded like prayers. Eleanor watched from the doorway. She didn't cry. She nodded once. I didn't know what that meant. Maybe I never would. Hours later, the building was quiet. Too quiet. I sat alone in a conference room that smelled like lemon polish and old money. Daniel Reeves stood by the window, phone pressed to his ear, murmuring about mandatory filings and protective orders. My phone buzzed. A message from Leora. I didn't ask to be made. I stared at it. Then typed back. Neither did I. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. That was enough. Dawn came slow. The city breathed. I stepped outside as the first light found the edges of the towers. Reporters shouted questions. I didn't answer. I thought of Grandpa. Of the orchard. Of a bunker full of truths and a boy raised to be erased. Someone once said that the bravest thing a person can do is refuse the story written for them. Another thought followed, steadier, you don't inherit the future. You decide it. Calder Holdings would be frozen pending investigation. Trusts restructured. Boards dissolved. Names changed. As for me, I wasn't a Calder. I wasn't a Voss. I was the last son of a lie, and the first man to end it. I walked into the morning without looking back.